My wife made me watch part of the Grammys before the Royal Rumble, and it reminded me that all other music besides metal is fail. Welcome to the single greatest metal podcast on the internet. This is the Metal Hammer of Doom. I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm tired as shit right now because I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning for a training, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight we are going to be reviewing the newest offering from metal band extraordinaire, Iced Earth, not to be confused with Iron Maiden, Plagues of Babylon. And I'm not doing it alone because if I did, I'd probably fall asleep. So the man who's going to take the steering wheel when I nod off and go in and drive the car into a ditch, formerly as one of the three beards, he is the host of the Sentai Frentai Hentai podcast. He is, of course, the original wielder of the Metal Hammer of Doom, Thor himself, Mr. Robert Cooper. How do you do?
God damn. I need you as my, official ring announcer. You can be my, you can be my Ricardo Rodriguez. See, I was trying to think of the guy who used to introduce, Ernest the Cat Miller.
Do you ever see First Night where William Shakespeare, I guess, he had I don't think it was Bard. He might have had another title, but he would come out there and he would introduce Heath Ledger. That's my role in life.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I remember that one. See, that's pretty good title. Though, quick question. Do you know who won the Metal Grammy?
Was it Jethro Tull? Is that a really dated joke now? If someone asks who won the Grammy for best metal band, and you say Jethro Tull, does everyone still laugh at that, or do people not get the joke anymore because it's from 20 years ago?
Well, no, some people will laugh and others are going, okay, yeah, we know. No, it's people. Everybody still remembers it. Yeah.
Okay.
At least all the metalheads do, but the Black Sabbath won, and that was.
I heard that. And there's no accounting for taste then.
But as I'll be talking in my column tonight, because poor Jeremy, I fell asleep at the wheel on that. I feel like the Grammys are doing a really bad job of making up for lost time.
Honestly, that's the problem with a lot of these award shows. For example, and I'm not taking anything away from Halle Berry, and I'm not taking anything away from Denzel Washington, but the movies they won Oscars for, the year they won an Oscar, they should not have won Oscars. Denzel Washington should have won an Oscar for his role in, Glory. He should have won, a Best Supporting Actor for Glory. There's other movies that Denzel Washington, he could have won an Oscar for his portrayal of Malcolm X in the movie Malcolm X, if the Academy wasn't racist. There's plenty of other movies where I feel like he really did a stellar job and really acted outside of himself and didn't just play Denzel Washington. And he gets it for fucking Training Day. I mean, there was no reason to give it to him for Training Day, but it was, but instead of giving him a Lifetime Achievement Award or We're Sorry We're Racist Award, they gave him an award for fucking Training Day and said, here's your Lifetime Achievement Oscar. And then there's Halle Berry, who won it for, I think, Monsters University or whatever movie she was in. Yeah, Monsters Incorporated. Yeah, whatever. The Monster Squad, whatever. That's right. Halle Berry won an Oscar for some kind of monster. You can't see it, but this is me blinking. And And again, it wasn't that great of a movie. It certainly wasn't Oscar worthy. There were other things she probably should have won for. But dude, how old does Madonna look?
God, she looks like a piece of leather.
Was that her child or her boyfriend or her familiar? What was that thing she was with that was dressed up like that?
I'm not quite sure. Oh shit, I'm not quite sure. I think maybe it was her familiar. Maybe she summoned the troll. I don't know.
Maybe. Either way, whatever it was that was dressed up like her, they showed a picture of her face. Dude, Angelina Jolie as Maleficent looks less scary than Madonna. Jesus Christ.
I'm pretty sure. Shit. Oh well. I was going to make a music reference and I forgot the guy's name. Oh well. I'm pretty sure the corpse of B. Arthur is less scary than that.
Yeah, she was looking really rough, and she was all dolled up and everything, made up, and she just looked. Fucking Billy Gunn has less wrinkles. My goodness.
Okay. Jesus, she looks so old. Sean Waltman's hairline is like, come on, man.
All right.
But hey, speaking, I guess going back to Metallica, yeah, that's another band that they've been making up for lost time on for years.
I think
should have won it with Injustice for All.
I think the Grammys don't realize there's other metal bands out there. They were just like, oh, metal, that's Metallica, right? That's their thing?
Yeah, well, they merged the hard rock category with it, too, in an attempt to add relevancy. Because a lot of the metal bands they pick, they'd be picking stuff maybe like Korn and a lot of bands like that. And if, there weren't any old bands to pick, they would kind of just go with whatever's popular, which, that's cool and all. I feel like there's really, a loss. This is the mainstream, so we're not going to get anything like Carcass there. But, I feel like there's a lot more they could do if they just kind of peeled under the first layer of the onion. That's all. That's all we got to do. Just kind of.
You know what, though, Robert Cooper? Let me tell you something. The world doesn't need the Grammys. You know why the world doesn't need the Grammys? Because they've got the metal hammer of doom. Let's do this shit. Let's show these people what's going on in the world of music. How about it?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we're talking about Iced Earth. Iced Earth have been around forever. I was talking to the chick that I work with tonight, and she was asking, I said, we're going to listen to some Iced. I finally got done playing podcasts, and I was like, listen, I'm out of podcasts to listen to, so we're going to listen to some Iced Earth because I got to do a podcast on them tonight. And she likes metal, she likes rock, but she was like, what's an Iced Earth? And I said, well, they're kind of like Iron Maiden, but better, or at least more modern. And she said, oh,
they're a thrashier
okay.
Iron Maiden. They're a thrashier Iron Maiden.
Yeah, they're a thrashier Iron Maiden. Iced Earth, they put out their first album, self-titled, in 1990/1991. Robert, tell the good people, what's an Iced Earth? What are they all about?
Well, their early stuff I'm not hugely familiar with because the self-titled Night of the Storm Rider, not hugely familiar with them. But once they got Matt Barlow in with Dante's Inferno, they really kind of moved to a lot of epic storytelling, dark imagery. Kind of your typical thing that you'll find in a lot of power metal. But they have a lot of thrashy flair to them that I think really endears them and helps them kind of stick out among the a lot of the more just typical, just kind of typical power metal bands. Because, there's a lot of them. But, as they went on, they've covered a lot of different things in their stead. They had an album about Dante's Inferno. They had an album about horror monsters and stuff like that. They had one about Spawn.
Civil War.
The comic book.
Yeah, Spawn, the comic book. I think the Glorious Burden was based on the Civil War.
Yeah, especially the Gettysburg Suite, which I loved because as a guy who did Civil War reenacting for years. But that was when they brought in former Judas Priest vocalist Ripper Owens. The guy that fills in for everybody. Seriously, that dude is just like an average player.
He is metal's pinch hitter.
He is. He is the one puzzle, the spare puzzle piece. You know, if you have a 99-piece puzzle of a cheetah, and you got one sitting around that used to go to a zebra, but if it finishes the puzzle, you're good. Which is so well, yeah. His vocal range didn't exactly work as well with Iced Earth as a lot of their other singers, because a lot of their singers, like Stu Block, he can go to like a lot of lower pitch. Especially Matt Barlow, he had a very warm voice to him, and their original singer, he could kind of do both. But I feel like their signature sound is really caught with Matt Barlow, who is one of my favorite vocalists of all time. The dude has a very, very naturally warm tone, but he can also hit some really nice falsettos. But, you know, he's kind of got like the best of both worlds going on there. And yeah. And pretty much now the band is pretty much Jon Schaffer. He has been with the band as long as they've been around, and he pretty much is the band. And there's like certain things that he does that are just like Schaffer-isms. Like if you listen to enough Iced Earth, you'll be able to pick out like certain guitar patterns that are just like, oh, well, there's that. There's the Schaffer gallop. It's that, and well, actually his lyrical themes have been getting more and more into. He's gotten like really, really hardcore political. I think he's like super libertarian. Like actually there's a song on this album about You Won't Take My Guns Away, something like that. That's what it boiled down to. But actually this album, yeah, they do a lot of concept. Dante's Inferno had a near 18-minute long song about Dante's Inferno, and I fucking love it. And they also have the concept album that was kind of loosely based around the Universal monsters, like, you know, Wolf and Dracula was my favorite song on there. You know, like Castlevania. Dracula, they had one about the Phantom of the Opera. They covered Transylvania by Iron Maiden. Well, why not? And they've also done, you know, a Spawn concept album. They have 2 concept albums, which was their worst material, according to many. I haven't heard the albums because I've heard they're awful. That is set around their mascot, Set Abomine, who is apparently some Egyptian, look-alike Egyptian god, alien thing. I don't know. But they really, in these past 2 albums since Stu Block joined, the one, Dystopia, had a lot of kind of politically, kind of dipped in there, like, you know, like when the ice cream cones or you dip it in the chocolate. You know, it's like dipped in political stuff. And it was actually a pretty good album. I really liked it. And Stu Block, I came to find him through the band Into Eternity, and they're amazing. Anybody listening should go look up Into Eternity, including you, Mark. They're great. But yeah, and with this album, they're doing something different because they're really kind of going back to what they used to do with a lot of, a lot more mythological and stuff like, you know, Cthulhu. And
but I will tell you this: they definitely took some with the actual sound of the music. They took some different avenues I wasn't expecting. You could hear it in the first song. So if you need to continue, we can do that. But I want to go ahead and play the first track on here from Plagues of Babylon. Is actually called Plagues of Babylon, and give a listen to the vocal styling in this because it's very different from anything else I've ever heard, at least in my opinion, from Iced Earth. So here it is, Plagues of Babylon by Iced Earth. right, I let that play a little long because when I first heard it, I'm used to bands like progressive metal bands like Iced Earth, Iron Maiden to be more of a metal kind of a thing, and he almost, first of all, they threw a breakdown in there like this was Hatebreed, and then some of the way that he sang that song almost sounded like he was rapping. I wouldn't go full on like he broke into Kid Rock or anything, but there was definitely a hip-hop element to the vocalization of that song. What did you think about that, Mr. Cooper?
I've never heard that. I mean, did you listen to the last Iced Earth album?
Did I listen to the last Iced Earth? No, I missed the last one.
Okay. Well, I think that's just how Stu Blunt does things. Like, I think that's how his vocals, I guess that's how his vocal delivery is. Because I never really thought of it as hip hop. I was just like, that's Stu Blunt's vocal delivery. Because naturally, I think his natural singing, he does a lot of screaming and growling, and he has a really good falsetto. And actually, when they announced he was their singer, I was a bit, concerned. I'm like, I never thought he could do much of the lower singing stuff like Matt Barlow could. But here, this album further proves that he's well set for the job. I mean, I feel like he has a lot of, almost like a snarl to it. Like I said, I never really heard the hip-hop stuff, but now that you've mentioned it, I might go back and see if I could.
I just feel like there's part of it that he's not really, I just feel like there's part of it that he's not really singing. He's like, and then he would sing again. And again, I'm not complaining. I actually like the way he did it, but it was very, because I don't a lot of times pay attention to who the singers are. I'm terrible. Why do I even have a podcast, right? I don't always pay attention to. It's true. I don't always pay attention to who, like who's singing on an album, whatever. A lot of times, like I'll listen to an album and I won't pay attention to anything else that's going on with it, and then I'll go back and read up on it. And in this particular case, like I said, I just listened to it, and I'm listening to the way that he's singing that song, and I'm like, this is so different from anything else I've ever heard by Iced Earth. It was just, and the thing of it is that the rest of it's not this way. I don't really see him do this anymore throughout the album. We're going to listen to it. We're going to listen to the rest of the album now, but so maybe I'll pick it up again. Admittedly, I was listening to it while I was working full time, so I might have missed something. But
I feel like
I just.
No, I was going to say that. Like this track is actually, when I first started, I got really excited because it has a lot of classic Iced Earth, a lot of atmosphere builds, kind of a, I don't want to quite say quiet, but almost ominous in the way that it builds to the opening riff. And I really can appreciate that because that's what they did on a lot of their classic albums. It really worked because pretty much what they've been doing since pretty much after horror shows. There's a lot of just kind of standard songs, and Iced Earth really does a good job, especially with a lot of their classic material, really kind of getting you invested in the song before they fully flesh it out, which is what I feel like this song does, and does a really good job of doing.
Yeah, it's a good song. I really like it. It's just like I said, the vocal styling on the song was just kind of threw me off because it's different from anything else I've heard before. But you don't seem to know what I'm talking about, so let's keep going.
I didn't hear it, and I didn't know about it, so I don't know.
So let's go ahead and listen to the next song here and see maybe if there's more of what I'm talking about here or if I'm just imagining things because of lack of sleep. So this is Demo Side, again, by Iced Earth, track 2. right. Well, see, that's a return to normalcy. Nothing truly odd about that or tremendously different. That sounds like Iced Earth.
Yeah. Did you notice the Schaffer gallop?
Yes.
Dun, 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 yeah, see? Would you listen to enough Iced Earth? You're like, oh, there it is. That damn gallop.
You know, I was talking to the chick that I work with, and I was telling her about the podcast, and I said, our best ones are the ones where we hate the album.
Yep.
And I was afraid of that with this one because I like this album, but this is starting to enter. Other than when I picked up about the first song, this was for me starting to enter Children of Bodom territory, where it's solid, it's good. I don't know how much I have to say about it. What were some of your thoughts as you listened to the whole thing?
The whole album or the song?
I was going to say the whole album, but if you have something specific to say about the song, please don't let me cut you off.
Well, I mean, this song is another one that I felt like was a pretty solid return to classic Iced Earth, because it had the Schaffer, this Schaffer riffing and a lot of that stuff that you'll find in a lot of the classic Iced Earth, but it also covered more occult topics, which I really kind of like that they cover such topics like that after we've had albums of weird concepts and conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But I feel like this is one of the songs, because there are some songs on here that really reach back to their older days. It's a lot of people see it their heyday, and I kind of agree with that. I like it like that. It's pretty fucking solid. But this album, I can kind of see what you're saying. It is Iced Earth. It's pretty solid Iced Earth. I mean, I feel like I could probably talk a little more than I did about Children of Bodom, because, that actually had extenuating circumstances. Yay, putting your cat down the next day. But I feel like, that was my problem during that day. I remember you were looking for a Batman Superman comic. But I feel like there's a little. Yeah, I can actually remember what you were looking for. That's the sad part. But I feel like there's at least enough here that I can both complain and, I guess, talk about, because I am a pretty big fan of the band. They're one of the bands I have the most CDs of, and usually that is a proof of my dedication, since I only buy things.
You have got to be the only child I know who does not take advantage of digital media. My brother-in-law refuses to buy online magazines, although I think he might be coming around now. He's like, no, I have, him and my wife are both very tactile, so their whole family tends to buy physical media more than taking advantage of the digital scape. My mother-in-law is coming around on that because she's buying a lot of movies now for my daughter, and it's very easy, especially when you're just trying to distract a 3-year-old. You're like, here, watch this, and so you grab the remote, hit a button or two, and bam, she's watching Dumbo, as opposed to having to fiddle with multiple remotes and getting a disc and putting it in the, whatever. So, like I said, they're coming around, but it's been a slow process, as opposed to me, who is just treasures space and non-clutteredness among all else. So I've embraced digital media with both arms and a penis. And it's weird because I don't understand why you youngins why would you continue to buy physical CDs?
Well, with music, this is going to sound really stupid, but I feel like buying digital media from an artist is about the same as stealing it, because there's no real proof that I own it.
It's not even close, but it's not even close.
I know it's not close, but it just didn't have the same feeling to me. I'm just I bought it, but it can't be like, oh, here's the CD. Look, I bought I guess it's just kind of like I have it in my hand sort of thing. Now with old DVDs, I still buy DVDs when I find them in tapes when I buy them really cheap. I've found some really good indie spawn shops, and I actually got Firefly the entire season, pretty good. Oh, and I got a really rare Star Wars set. But otherwise, the only thing that I haven't really switched to being digital is, besides games. Games is a little different, but CDs, I guess because it's really just a passion of mine, and I always like to kind of have it in my hand. And a lot of my CD listening comes in the car. So many CDs are in my car right now.
Let me say this to you, and listen to Grandpa Mark, because he knows. I've lived. when you're still in college, and this is not a knock on you at all. I mean, I lived at home with my parents till I was with a short break till I was done with grad school. This is not a knock. I understand this is the situation, but you are young, and you're still with your parents, and you're still in college. When you move, and this will be amplified by each move, you will find that you want to own less physical stuff.
Oh, because that's what you have to move.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I have now moved so many times that I don't want to own anything. I'm lucky I still own pants.
Well, that's only because you need them for work.
Well, says you. And the local law enforcement agency. But, I mean, seriously, like, I've now moved so many times and lost so much stuff through subsequent moves and, you know, marriages and various bric-a-brac, that I would rather it all be in the cloud. At least I'll know where it is from now on. And I guess the counter argument to that is, yes, but what if China hits us with an electromagnetic gun and reduces us to the Stone Age, like, you know, Escape from Los Angeles, or Escape from L.A.? Well, then I guess I just won't have them anymore now, will I? And we'll have bigger problems.
Well, I mean, I put all my CDs that I buy on the computer in case something happens. That, and if I have a really rare CD that I don't want to tote around, I can make a copy of it. But I've come to find out I am very slow. Like, you're talking to a kid who didn't have any, like, iPod or MP3 player till his senior year of high school. Yeah, when I was a junior. My junior year of high school. Until then, I was carrying around a CD player, a CD case every day. Oh, yeah.
I wish you were, like, 20 years older, because you'd be like, whatever happened to 8 tracks? My God, the sound quality on my 8-track player in my Chevy Nova.
Oh, dude, as an emergency in the car I drive, my parents' blue Saturn, I have a Testament tape just in case. Like, if there are no CDs in the car that I can utilize, I'm like, fuck it, I have this practice what you preach tape.
And that's funny that you have a car that still can play cassette tapes. All right, let's get into track number 3 here. Well, we can go back to this in just a moment, but I want to play another song here because we are running low on time tonight. It's going to be a short podcast, folks. This is hopefully this is The Culling, track 3. It's time to murder it. Sounds like Iced Earth.
Yeah, that one's one of the tracks that I liked it. Like, I can't quite remember lyrically what it was about, but I liked it because I was like, okay, this is Ice Church. It wasn't really anything sort of special. There are some tracks. I mean, this is 13 tracks if you count the filler-tastic outro. That's all 30 seconds and fuck your couch. Literally, that he said fuck your couch. I did not upload that.
There's no need for that.
No, I actually had a really hard time finding Parasite and Highwayman. No, Spirit of the Time, sorry, because I think Ice Church really hates YouTube, which is ironic because the dude is super libertarian guy. But it's very hard to find Ice Church on YouTube. But yeah, The Calling it's okay. It's one of those tracks. It's nothing special, but it is. I feel like it's good that even though this is nothing special, it doesn't feel like the type of filler that, I'm going to skip every time if we're playing this in the car on a CD. Yes. I can swear that it's because of the very materialistic culture that we live in. But, we could get into that at another time. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those tracks that even though I know it's filler and it's still filler, I still like it. I'll still run through it. Why not? It's not long. Okay, it's 4.5 minutes. That's kind of long when you compare it to Slayer or Minor Threat, especially Minor Threat. Which I want to tell you, Guilty of Being White has come into my brain so many times because I go to a historically black college. Black college, and social justice has become an increasingly important component in all my classes since the government's going to come to the university and see if they... Listen to me. Tell those people Mark says get over it. No, that would not go well. You tell them Mark says get over it, okay? And when they say, well, fuck, who's Mark? And you just say, you don't need to worry about who Mark is, all right? Just he says get over it. Stop being so sensitive. When they ask him if he lynched someone, he don't know who. That song has come in my head. Like every time we start mentioning civil rights, which I'm like, I understand why it's being brought up because it's a very important subject, but I feel really, really guilty of being white. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I couldn't do anything. I was not even a stain in anybody's pants at that time. Oh, young Robert, he'll get over that soon. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure once the world has crashed down on me and I'm working 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton, I will quickly be like, fuck. Speaking of racism, have you heard or seen the video for What If Belle Lived in the Ghetto? No. Okay. That's wonderful. We're gonna go ahead and play. We're gonna go ahead and play another track, okay? And while we're playing another track, Robert is going to go on YouTube and he is going to listen to What If Belle Lived in the Ghetto, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this because it needs to be talked about in reference to Rob feeling guilty of being white. So let's listen to a few minutes of Among the Living Dead, track 4.
find it?
Yes.
Did you watch it?
I mean, it's 5 minutes long. I mean,
I'm
so
sure
like
in the 2 minutes that I let that song play, you got the gist.
Well, I mean, I've only got 30 seconds in. My computer's running like retarded. So hold on. But as for Get the Big White, it is a good song. And, you know, I wouldn't have gotten the meaning of the song had I not looked up the lyrics, because the first time I heard it, it was like, rah, 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 rah.
Like a barking dog.
Oh, I see.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and play another song so that Rob can
Among the Living Dead was,
watch this video.
Among the Living Dead was okay, though. I mean, it was solid.
Yeah.
It's another one song. It's solid. But I've heard better.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna go and fast forward here. We're gonna go to the next song here so that Rob can get caught up and listen to "What If Belle Lived in the Ghetto."
On your knees is where you'll be when we find you. Smoke you out instead of things we've succumbed to. You stand warned, you mindless horde, we will not falter. You think you're gods upon the earth, we smash your altar. No more time to justify, look for reason. We will survive, we will defy this blatant treason. We are strong, we stand tall, we face the judgment. We are alive, we will survive this corruption. Take a deep breath, winds of freedom. Spread like fire through the minds of brothers. Not the moment, fight the tyrants. Face the challenges you'll never falter.
All right. So that was easily one of my favorite songs of the album. I like how the song begins and then the transition to the chorus. All right. How much of the video have you watched now?
About 3 minutes. I get it, though.
Okay. So I want to ask
really
you.
is a bougie girl.
All right. I have a series of questions that I need to ask you now about this video, and this all relates to Iced Earth. Trust me.
Right.
So I was asking my wife about this earlier because she was actually the one that turned me on to the video through Facebook. You know, for a while it was making the rounds on Facebook, and I finally got around to watching it after she tagged me in the video. She was like, "Oh, you got to see this. This is really funny." And I watched it, and my first thought was, this makes black people look terrible. Not all black. First of all, not all black people act the way they do in that video. I think that should go without saying. It's certainly focusing on a economic group. It's focusing on a geographical group. It's focusing on poor black people in the ghetto. That's the joke, right? It's what if Belle lived among poor blacks in the ghetto. But still, does it not make black people look terrible? Not all black people, but even just those in that economic group, doesn't it make them look terrible?
Oh, Antoine Dodson showed up. Oh, snap. Like, it makes them look very judgmental. Like, if you don't act and look a certain way, you must think they're better than you. Which, see, the term bougie, I did not know what it meant until I was in a class. I sound very fucking white right now. But I was
you really do, crack a pants.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I was in a class, it's a social justice class. I think the teacher really likes me because I've introduced her to things such as articles about 13-year-old black kids from Harlem playing metal, and I found one yesterday about how black women are, I guess a report looking at how black women are discriminated against in heavy metal. So in that class, she mentioned how her people are calling her bougie, and I look at her, I'm like, what the fuck is bougie? She goes, bougie. I'm like, oh, like the bourgeoisie. And she's like, I ain't going to take all the time to say that. And I'm like, I got you. It does a really, yeah, I know. I sound really fucking white. Jesus Christ. At least I get to make the part
teacher,
white noise.
Wait, did your college, hang on, stop. You just ran a red light on me. Did your college professor actually use the phrase, I ain't got time to say bourgeoisie?
I think it was pretty much, it boiled down to that. Yeah, she's like, I don't have the time to say that. I'm like, oh, okay,
Isn't that the problem right there? If you're admitting that you ain't got the time to bleed, nor do you have the time to say bourgeoisie, isn't that inherently the problem?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't falter for it. I mean, we all have our slang. I mean, bourgeoisie it's a French word. But, I get what you're saying. Because, you're like, God damn, it's the word. It's not that hard to say. But, yeah,
okay, so hang on a second.
It does what?
Hang on. Now, here's the thing. After I asked my wife, don't you think this makes black people look terrible? And she said, yeah, that's what's funny about it. I said, okay, is this now an admission on behalf of black people that, at least in this economic group, I have to keep saying that so people are like, fucking Radulich, were you crazy racist? No, I'm talking about the people being represented in this video. Isn't that an admission on their part that they are in fact terrible? Are they actually like holding up a mirror to themselves going, yeah, we are awful, awful people? And if so, what? And hang on, because her answer was interesting. She was like, no, I don't think that's what they mean. She was like, first of all, they're actors. They're actors. I'm like, I understand that. This wasn't a documentary. It wasn't some white girl wandering around, fucking, Compton with a book, and people just shooting it. I understand that, but still, if I decide that I'm going to shoot this thing, like this was my project, I'm like, yeah, I'm casting a bunch of black people to look ignorant and sound retarded and make fun of a white girl for being smart. And black people would have to agree to that. They'd have to be okay with it, at least on some level, to be a part of the video. So, like, you're laying out like your cards for this, and you're giving people the sheet music for the song, and saying, okay, here's what you're going to say. And people have to, on some level, agree that that this is funny and it's worth doing. It's worth poking fun at themselves. But to me, it's a tacit admission that those working on the project were like, yeah, the people in that economic group are absolutely terrible. And she was like, no, it's not. I don't think they gave a shit. They just wanted to be in a funny video on the internet. While you think about that, I'm going to go ahead and
actually,
the end.
I was going to answer that, but...
No, I want you to think about it.
Okay.
I'll stew. I want you to think about it and formulate an answer using complete sentences, no less than 50 words. Okay?
Okay, and then we'll talk about one of my favorite songs on the album.
Sure, we can do that too. This is track 6. This is called The End.
As we gaze uncertain of the future.
Okay, the floor is yours, Mr. Cooper.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the song in a second. Now, as for the I guess the people, I guess, acknowledging the fact that the stereotype is true, I guess that there is a certain part of that you have to go and kind of accept that even though this is not a negative stereotype, that it is true in some places. And while the video itself does kind of glorify that, and it's still not exactly the most glamorous, I feel like it really is played up for laughs. There's no maliciousness really behind it. It is kind of played for laughs. Like, I could see this. Well, I have never been I've been in a few ghettos, but actually that was really funny because my cousins were wielding paintball guns in full camo while I'm in shorts and a T-shirt. Yeah, that was great, especially that creepy mustache I used to have. But I can definitely see this being something that, well, what if Belle wasn't one of those types of ghettos? Like this damn singing perfect white girl, they would probably look down upon her. Now, I do have to say that I think that's really them kind of just accepting that it is, in fact, it is a stereotype, but there is some truth to it, and they're just kind of accepting it, and through that, just kind of poking fun at it, because I feel like they do it a lot. A lot of other cultures have done it too. I mean, shit, especially, you live in the South. Even though I roll my eyes at a lot of the shows, there's a lot of the TV shows that are kind of like playing up the whole redneck aspect. Like, fuck, I've watched 5 minutes of Duck Dynasty. I mean, they play up a lot of redneck things.
I absolutely hate that show. My brother-in-law, who was very keeping up with the Joneses and then won't admit that he's keeping up with the Joneses. He's the kind of guy who, when Captain America was popular recently for 5 minutes after the first movie, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go buy Captain America comics." And then the people that he hung out with stopped reading Captain America, so he stopped. So he's kind of one of those guys.
I hate those
guys.
No offense. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but those types annoy me.
Yeah, he was all about Duck Dynasty at like the height of its popularity. And I remember everybody else like, "Oh, let's watch Duck Dynasty because Brenton thinks it's funny." And I'm like, "No, this is stupid. You're watching a reality show about people who make duck calls. Duck calls. Like, oh, but they're a conservative family. Who gives a fuck?" Why? So because they're conservatives, we're all supposed to rally behind this? Why? Why can't these conservatives just be stupid and not worth watching?
I mean, that, and if you've seen anything like them before this reality show, they look like fucking golf club yuppies. And they didn't look like that. They didn't have any beards like that. They were, well-trimmed, well-shaven and everything. I'm like, fuck. I mean, the show, like, they seem like nice guys and all, but the show itself really feels fake and forced. And while, yes, they are conservative and love them some Jesus, I can respect that. I just don't feel like the show is worth 5 seconds of my time. I tried to watch 5 minutes of it, and it was like the crazy uncle was trying to win this damn gorilla from a Chuck E. Cheese. I'm like, he's so wacky. Like, fuck that. Football to go watch.
Don't get me wrong. I actually sat through a marathon of Honey Boo Boo because my wife was watching that too one day.
Oh, you poor thing.
I was like, you watch the worst television. But that's her thing, I do podcasts when I should be sleeping. She watches trashy TV. But I had the same reaction. Why does America care about this family? This ugly fat mom, her terrible kids, and her pageant child. Why?
Because they want to feel better about
family?
Themselves. Oh shit! I think I just answered the question as to the entire issue. People want to feel better about themselves and judge others.
So
well,
let's feel better about this album. Why is the end one of your favorite tracks on here?
It does a lot of what Plagues of Babylon does well. Like the song itself does. There's a lot of build up and a lot of preamble to what is overall a pretty great, and I feel like it's a fairly memorable song. While a lot of bands tend to, when they go into 7 minutes and stuff, tend to get worse, I feel like Iced Earth gets better the longer that they go on, especially because there's not many tracks of 7 minutes that they go to that aren't worth it. Like, my favorite example is from the Dark Saga album, which you should listen to, Mark, because I'm sure you love Spawn. I'm sure you love Spawn.
I've listened to everything but Dystopia. I've listened to I've had every Iced Earth album when I was, at one point when I actually owned physical media. So I've heard every album except for Dystopia.
Oh.
What was the album we reviewed recently where the songs were unnecessarily 7 minutes long?
Oh, Sabbath? Was it Sabbath? I think it was Sabbath.
Maybe.
Because aren't you like, God damn, there's like 9 minutes. And even me, who likes 9 minute long songs, was like, yeah, they kind of went on a while for here. Yeah, like my favorite example of Iced Earth doing what they do best is A Question of Heaven, which is the finale to the Dark Saga, and probably one of my favorite songs of all time. Especially, remember that part at the end where he's pretty much just questioning, why don't you let me die? And Barlow hits like a ball-squeezing falsetto, and you're just like, oh man, this makes me want to cry. Like stuff like that. It's like I feel like they do a good job of wrapping up a solid, I guess, concept for a song. And 7 minutes seems to be a really, really good time for them to use. Like, yeah, there have also been some really great songs that they've done that are really short. But especially when you look at this album, like my favorite songs on here play like 1, 7, 1, 5, 7, and the other 6. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just 7. Something about this band.
Maybe. Well, this is another one of their ballads. It's one of your favorite songs. This is track 7. This is If I Could See You.
I've learned in life today. Still I need your guidance. You always found the words to say to ease my troubled mind. Now you're gone, I feel alone. If I could see you one more time.
It just kind of goes on like that. It's a good song.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. It's not one of my favorites because it does kind of feel like a throwaway ballad, but I do love Stu Block. Like that dude, you should look up some of the stuff in Into Eternity. The guy's got pipes. Like he can do kind of lower melodic singing. He can do falsettos. He has a great scream, a great growl. Dude can do it all. But yeah, this was kind of one of their typical ballads. Like I feel like they have one in each. Actually, yeah, they pretty much have one in each album. Which is fine because, other ones like fucking Dracula, that is another one of my favorite songs. That song's just like one of those songs that's the GOAT. Oh, Motley Crue has announced their final tour. Oh, well.
Oh, you just saw that? Yeah, I saw that earlier in the night.
Well, no, I saw it. I just saw an email from it because with Motley Crue, when they had that free song called Sex, and I signed up for it, it's like, oh, yeah, free music. And it was the only piece of free music I've ever gotten that I deleted. Because it was just so bland and shitty. It was. I was like,
this isn't even worth keeping on my computer. Delete.
It wasn't even mine. It was my mom's computer. I didn't even have to worry. Yeah, I was just like, I listened to the song. I'm like, this is so bland and lifeless and awful. Delete. It's like, holy shit! I just deleted something free. Wow.
As a culture, are we done with Motley Crue? Are we ready to turn the page and pass Motley Crue into send Motley Crue into the West by ship?
Yes, I mean as a band, like I feel like Motley Crue is one of those hair metal, I guess ones you can consider a hair metal, glam metal band. They were definitely one of the better ones, but as they've gotten older, Vince Neil's voice is shot, and he looks awful. I mean I can't say much about anybody else's look. Jesus. Maybe
the guilt from killing a man has caught up with him.
Maybe. I mean, Tommy Lee, nobody really cares about him. Hell, most people just know he has a giant dong and was in a sex tape with Pamela Anderson. Mick Mars.
I think he's got like the hepatitis.
Yes, he's got the hepatitis. And poor Mick Mars, the dude's got like a fucking crippling disease. I think it's like brittle bone disease or something.
Isn't he in the woods near an oil can waiting for Dorothy? Never mind.
Oh, yeah, probably. And then you've got Nikki Sixx, who I'm like, yeah, whatever. But he's got a band. He's 6 a.m. They're okay. I'm not a huge fan, but I feel like as a band, they kind of like they tapped into all they really could. Like what were Motley Crue? They were about partying and girls and drugs, right? I mean,
right. And now they're like 70.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's kind. I mean, I know we made jokes about Black Sabbath singing songs about Satan and stuff, but I mean, hell, they did songs about family and abuse and stuff like that in their last album too. I mean, there's a certain point that you reach when if you don't go to a new well, you're just going to sound fucking old. And, like, Motley Crue, they sing about sex and drugs and whores and all that. It's just not going to do anything. So you're like, shut up, Grandpa. Go drive drunk and kill somebody. Poor Raphael.
You know, they're going to write a sequel to Girls, Girls, Girls 2 where they're trying to find a stripper that isn't related to them.
I mean, yeah. Oh, that's so fucked up. I love it. I mean, hell, at least look at Bret Michaels. His fucking old ass decided to go do country and make his own line of pet clothing. God.
Yes, and that was after 4 unsuccessful seasons of the Rock Boss or whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah,
all right,
didn't he have 2 seasons of it? Yeah. And now next is a song that we're going to dedicate to Robert Winfrey.
Yes, this is called Cthulhu. All right. It's a good song. Definitely picks up the pace after the previous slower song. What do you think?
Oh, I love this song. I think this is probably my favorite one of the album. Because, you know, I feel like every time I listen to it, I just find new things to love. Like, I know I keep going back to Old Iced Earth, and I'm sure we're going to get some guy listening on, well, can't you fucking just talk about the album? You see they keep referencing their older stuff. And maybe it's just because, you know, when I think of those older albums, I just get so damn happy. And, you know, I love a lot of their older material. And I feel like they're at their best when they're kind of drawing upon that well. I know oftentimes as, you know, reviewers and guys who, you know, love to talk about shit, we get pissy when people redo things over and over. But sometimes, like, when you do something over and over, but it has so much variation to it, it's not a problem because they just keep finding new ways to do it. But this song here, like, it really has a nice kind of almost sinister, and you know, it has a really sinister vibe to it. But then when the singing gets to going, it gets a nice melody going. It almost reminds me of Oh, hell, Dante's Inferno, the song, all 17 minutes of it. There's parts in it that were very reminiscent of this. And then, this song here just really kicks off and just gives you a nice punch in the face. They do a lot of really nice things here in this song, and I really like it. It really does give me hope for the band because, coming out of the damn, not Glorious Burden, the Framing Armageddon was, a lot of people were really kind of down in the band. And, I tend to catch on a lot of vibes that people have for artists. Sometimes I do agree, and sometimes I disagree. Hearing Dystopia made me really, really excited because it was a great album. And this one here is just doing even more to draw upon a lot of their older sound, and I think that really goes up to the album's benefit.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next album. Next
pew, 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 pew.
Song.
Pew, 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 pew.
Indeed, this is called Peacemaker. And be a simple kind of man. Okay, good. Glad I'm not alone on that one.
So we just connected.
Okay, we'll go back and listen to the song again, but that was totally, I was actually, when I listened to it the first time, I was like, did they cover Simple Man? Like, no, this will change rapidly in just a moment. But, yeah, that little first part there, I was like, well, that was so Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd. Yeah, well, that's clearly not Simple Kind of Man.
Pew pew. God, I feel like we really did connect there because as soon as you started singing, I'm like, fuck, I was thinking the exact same thing. And I thought you would stop just to sing Simple Man. Lovely. But yeah, this song was solid. It's very ham-fisted. It's like, guns, love them. I'm like, cool, Jon Schaffer.
You think they just kind of like just rammed that one in there and it didn't really fit, or it was just nothing special about it.
Like, you know what it reminded me of? Did you see the movie Elysium over the summer? No? Okay. Well, it had a very obvious inspiration from the whole 1% thing, and it was it was so damn obvious and distracting that I could not enjoy the movie because I was like, ugh. I don't like my political rhetoric like so badly like crammed into something, and not even done slyly or intelligently or even in a fun way. It's just like,
and that's totally why I didn't go see the movie though, because I saw that coming on my own way, and I'm like, oh well, this film has an agenda, and I don't like Matt Damon that much, so I was like, yeah, this one's very skippable.
Yeah, we went and saw it at the 250 Theater, the place where we're such regulars. The guy knows our fucking order. And
all right. We're going to wind this podcast down here. We're going to move on to track 10. This is called Parasite, not a cover. Okay. What do you think of that one?
It was a pretty solid closer. Like, it wasn't anything special, but I don't really feel like it needed to be anything too amazing to kind of wrap up the album. Like, I think it did a pretty good job. It kept my attention the whole time, which is, I mean, that's a pretty good feat. I mean, I know I'm not that easy to, or not, I'm not that hard to keep entertained. I mean, fuck, I watched the Royal Rumble for the most part and only bitched during half of it.
All right. So you said that was now that's the last part of the regular studio album. Were there two bonus tracks?
Yeah, one is a cover that I only heard once, and another one, that's Spirit of the Time, or what is it, Highwayman. But Spirit of the Times, get this, Mark Radulich. It's Jon Schaffer covering his own goddamn music. It's him covering a song from his the overly political band he's in, which pretty much everything's about America and politics and blah, 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 called what is that band called now? Now I have to tell you about it. It's you know what band I'm talking about? No.
I'm looking it up.
Sons of Liberty.
Sons of Liberty. Okay.
Yeah. Like he's covering a song from his own band, and it's not like this band released this album. I mean, it's maybe been 10 years, which I know feels like a long time for me, but that's only 2004. Like, I don't get why he covered his own band. I mean, do you? I mean, maybe is it to build exposure through his main project?
Sometimes, I mean, you get this a lot with, like, for example, Al Jorgensen, right? He did a side project called 1000 Homo DJs, where it was like him, Trent Reznor, and a bunch of other people, and they covered Supernaut by Black Sabbath. And since then, Ministry has gone on to play it in concert, so Ministry ended up re-recording it as Ministry and putting it on, like, other albums. So that's an example of why you might want to, like, cover your own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does. It does bring exposure to it. I mean, it's okay. I've listened to some of it. Kevin actually has one of their has an album by them signed because he's like, oh, he's a really cool guy, and he's all into Ron Paul. So I must get this signed. And then he offered to sell it to me for $20. I'm like, no thanks, it's not worth that much. I mean, cool guy. I mean, Jon Schaffer seems like an all right guy. Pretty neat. I was just like, I just didn't. I was just like, I don't know why he's really. I mean, there's other things he could have covered, like I don't know, Machine Head, Deep Purple, fucking, I don't know. But speaking of Al Jorgensen, what do you think about him going to rehab? Can't explain things.
Well, I mean, what can I say? I was not shocked. At least it's not the first time he's been in rehab either. But let's go ahead and listen to Spirit of the Times. I mean, that's okay. I just kind of wanted him to get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've already made my bitching about it. I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, who's this by? And my Sons of Liberty. I'm like, wait, that's his stuff. And I listened to it. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's a song.
It sound dramatically different from the Sons of Liberty version?
Not by what I can tell. I mean, I'm just like, I mean, it's pretty similar. It's not like they've changed that many members of the band. I mean, shit, I don't even know if Stu Block sang on that version. Okay, cool. I mean, I don't know if, because I think Schaffer does a lot of the singing on Sons of Liberty. Because I know he can't sing. He's not nearly, his range isn't as good, but I was just like, okay. I mean, it's okay. I know you're one of the types of, like, you know, there's no such thing as bad cover. But it's one of those. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, fuck, Jon Schaffer does the singing, guitars, and drum programming for Sons of Liberty. So pretty much it's just him and a few other people. But no, Oh, wow. Okay, this sounds really bad. You know when their debut album, My Sons of Liberty, came out? 2010.
When?
2010. He's covering a song from not even 4 years ago. Bro.
Oh, that sort of thing happens, you know.
Oh, come on, bro. Okay. You could do better than this. You can cover Transylvania again. Go ahead. I'll wait.
All right. Just so we can close this out. This is the best song on the album because it's the cover. It's the cover of The Highwaymen, which was Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, I believe, and Hank Williams Jr. So here it is. This is The Highwaymen. No, wait. It was, fuck. You know what? Here's the song, and then I'll get the right guys in the band.
Lots of highwaymen along the coast roads I did ride. The sword and pistol by my side. Many a young maid lost her baubles to my trade. Many a soldier shed his lifeblood on my blade. The bastards hung me in the spring of 25. But I am still alive. I was a sailor. I was born upon the tide. And with the sea I did abide. I sailed a schooner around the Horn of Mexico. I went aloft and furled the mainsail in the blow. And when the yacht broke up, they said that I got killed. But I'm living still. Oh, I was a damn.
Awesome. You can't go wrong with that. That's actually not by the original. That's not by the Highwaymen originally. It's a Jimmy Webb song that like everybody in the world apparently has covered. All right, so here are the Highwaymen: Johnny Cash, Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, and Willie Nelson. Country music supergroup.
Good
But,
country music.
the actual-
That's that.
But the actual song, The Highwaymen, is, like I said, originally by Jimmy Webb. So there you go.
There you go.
Now you know.
It was pretty solid cover. I could dig it.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. All right, so
It
overall,
didn't blow me away.
yeah, I mean, I thought it was. It's just like it's not. I feel like a million people have covered it, but I mean, it's not one that you never hear by a heavy metal band. So it was different. Okay, really, 50 words or less, and I do mean 50 because I am literally going to fall down after this podcast is over. I thought this album was good. It was a good Iced Earth album. It didn't really drag. I thought moved along pretty smoothly. Even the ballad type slower songs, it didn't feel like filler to me necessarily, or the filler wasn't so obviously filler. It wasn't like girls level of filler. So I would say it's a B+, A-, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I mean, just judging by the score I gave it and, how this last year went, it'll definitely hit the top 50, guaranteed. It's a really good way to start the year, actually, in terms of metal. I felt like they did a really good job of kind of harkening back to their older sound with some stuff, as well as kind of honoring some of the newer flourishes that they've had from stuff pretty much past Horror Show, because I feel like Horror Show through that is like a lot of their newer stuff. The Horror Show is amazing. But, yeah, it was a really good album. There is some filler in it, but it's not bad filler. Like, sometimes filler is just good to get a piss break. Like, look at Divas matches. Like, sometimes those are great when you need a piss break and you need something to kind of, help you soak in. Like, that piece of bread that you get at the end of the spaghetti dinner that helps soak up all the sauce. Like, sometimes filler's good.
All right. Listen, buddy, here's the deal. Here's what's going to happen. You with me?
I'm good. All
right. So I'm going to nominate 2 songs, and then I'm going to nominate 2 albums, rather, and you're going to pick the one we're going to do. And then after that, then you can just pick the next album, because I know you wanted to do Grand Nagus, and I think Jesse Starker wanted us to do Grand Nagus, but that's not the next one we're going to do.
think he wanted Scar Symmetry.
No, yeah, he wanted us to do Scar Symmetry too, which I do not see on the 2014 list here. I don't know when that comes out, or maybe it's out now. Who knows? But we're not doing that one next either. Here's what we're gonna do. You have a choice.
Okay.
We're either doing The Haunted or we're doing Throwdown.
The Haunted's only an EP.
No, The Haunted. I have it up here on Spotify. It's Unseen.
I Have a Storm.
It's Unseen. No, wait. No, fuck. That's 2011.
Radulich. You're pulling a Radulich.
I am pulling a Radulich. What the fuck is wrong with me? You're right. It's Eye of the Storm, which is not on Spotify. Or
yeah,
if it is,
it's a 3-song. It's at the bottom. It's an EP.
You're absolutely right about that. We're not doing The Haunted. Good call. All right, so we're doing Throwdown.
Well, okay. I mean, I've listened to a few of their songs, not been impressed, but we'll see. You can change
I want to
mind.
do Throwdown. Yeah, I want to do just straight up fucking bro metal.
Oh, it is. You know, one of their CDs was in the local used bookstore that I frequent. And like a giant, like jacked white guy. Like he looked like Brock Lesnar level of jacked. In a fucking like man thong, well, not a man thong, like a what you call it, what the Roman gladiators wore, and he's just like covered in really bad CGI arrows. So pro-y.
I'm all about it.
Okay,
we're doing Throwdown.
That's cool.
Intolerance. There's some of the songs on this one. Get ready. Fight or Die. Defend with Violence.
Did you say defend with violence? Okay, let's see.
Defend
Let's
with
see what
Violence.
Fight or Die sounds like. Oh, God.
We're totally doing Throwdown.
I mean,
it
doesn't sound totally awful. We'll see. You know, maybe this will go great, and I won't be a judgmental dick.
Or you'll want to strangle me. This will be this year's Hatebreed.
No, I don't want to strangle you over Hatebreed. I was actually kind of impressed with that Hatebreed album because they were a lot less sucky than I thought.
Okay. So we're gonna do Throwdown next, and then after that, then we'll do Brand Negus.
That's definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I don't have a lot of plugs. I just want to go to bed. Do your plugs. Go.
Okay, plugs. Well, pretty much everything I do is on the Radulich Podcasting Network. You can find this podcast, of course. There's also the Sentai Fritai Happy Fun Time podcast, or as it's really called, the Sentai Writer Podcast, which has been kind of on a giant delay because we keep getting caught with my shitty internet as well as, just scheduling conflicts and stuff like that. Hopefully we're recording 2 shows this week on Wednesday and Thursday because we have 6 episodes of Gaim to catch up on. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know it's a great fucking show. It's awesome. So there's that. The Three Beards, I'm kind of on the shelf with that right now because Kevin's an audio Nazi. Well, I mean, it's understandable. And his recording method really just makes it to where I can't participate because my audio goes fucking nuts. So I'm kind of sort of just on the shelf with him. Show up one day, I'm sure. But, I'm just pretty much not doing much with him right now. But, still go look up them on Facebook and on the 336cast.com. There's also the Cooperative Multiplayer Podcast where myself, Sean Garmer, Daniel Anderson, and host Stephen Randall talk video games. And by talk video games, I mean we talk video games for an hour and then I spend 2 hours just trolling the shit out of Randall and rambling because it's great. The whole reason he has it here is to fill time. So, yeah, there's that. And then there's the Hammer of Doom News Report on 411mania.com and the Music Zone, and hopefully it should be out tonight if I can get it in on time.
I'm in tomorrow's MMA Factor Fiction. I'm doing coverage Saturday night for UFC 169. There'll be hopefully there'll be a Casual Heroes Cast this week that I'll get to be on. Sometimes they do those without me. Shit happens. And then this Tuesday night is the last of the Aliens Predator series, Aliens versus Predator. We'll have Sean Comer back on, obviously. He's the co-host. We'll have Jason Offit. He's our special guest. And Sundays at 9 o'clock is the 401 Ground and Pound radio show. Okay. This has been sort of an abbreviated podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Throwdown. Ah, yeah, buddy. All right. This has been the Metal Hammer of Doom. I am the mandated reporter, Mark Radulich. He is formerly one of the Three Beards, Mr. Robert Cooper. Be well, be safe, and behave.